Well, well, well. If it isn't a new episode of the Nature Disturbed podcast. Happy New Year, everyone. Where are you listening from? Are you in a car? Are you doing the laundry? Are you trapped inside a well? Are you backstage in the dressing room at an off-Broadway rendition of Horses the Musical, waiting for your cue? Wherever you are, feel free to yell aloud. I'm here in 2026, and I have value. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but... Sorry, that came out wrong. I meant to say, if you're enjoying the show, please do recommend it to a friend and give us a cheeky little 5-star rating. Go on, Missy Mo. This will help others find the Nature Disturbed podcast. This podcast was recorded on the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to elders past and present. This episode contains strong language and adult themes. I'm sat, as ever, in my kitchen sink. Today, I filled the sink with marbles from a Hungry Hippo set, along with several 2-litre bottles of Coke. Just got a little bit here left, so I'll pour the rest in. There we are. Oh, it tingles. I was going to fill the sink with cocaine, but it turns out that would be rather expensive, and I'm currently trying to save up for a new Tamagotchi. We're diving right back into the Wet and Wild series for a nice, dribbling, soggy adventure. I thought I would recontextualise today's topic with a friendly, gentle, non-passive-aggressive reminder of the nature, abundance, and importance of water on Earth. Each water molecule is comprised of 2 hydrogen atoms and a single oxygen atom, giving it the chemical formula H2O. There's a total of 1.386 billion cubic kilometres of water on Earth. It's a substance of many magical qualities. It can react as both a base and as an acid, and has a key role in many of life's most essential reactions, such as photosynthesis and respiration. It's described as the universal solvent, because of its power to dissolve more substances than all other liquids. Life on Earth contains lots of water, including us large mammals whose total body mass is up to 70% H2O. As such, we can imagine water as the thing which allows us to be who we are, sentient sacks of water-facilitated chemical reactions hobbling around between public libraries wearing tutus and fairy wings, thinking to ourselves, I love public libraries, but I wish I could read. Oh no, am I oversharing again? The Earth's surface is also shaped by water. Chemical and physical weathering, the flow of the river, the rise of the tide, everything from the great polar ice caps to the rancid smelly puddle which collects on the pavement outside my house, and in which I sit of an evening, waving at strangers and saying, "Don't look at me!" Now, enough friendly reminders. On with the show. Hippos and cocaine. 2 highly addictive things which I'm afraid of, dream about often, and hope never to be within 5 feet of again. Now, just as long as I'm able to restrain myself from clambering over zoo fences and venturing into the Mara River in Kenya for evening swims, I'm happy to lean into my hippo addiction for today. But what do these 2 unlikely subjects, the world's 5th heaviest land animal and the world's most glamorized, recreational drug, have to do with each other? How did their stories intertwine? Well, today we shall learn just that. On the way, we will explore themes like the ethics of wildlife conservation, invasive species management, and how the social and political histories of a country can have long-lasting environmental impacts. Oh, and for the record, the top 4 heaviest land animals are the African bush elephant at number 1, followed by the Asian elephant, then the African forest elephant, and the white rhino. The cocaine hippos, as they have been so branded, have a story which begins, as cocaine-related stories often do, with the drug lord Pablo Escobar. He is the one who brought these animals from their native African home to Colombia. In the aftermath of his death, a number of bad decisions by the government, or rather, a lack of decision-making, has meant that the small group of hippos living under Escobar's rule has now grown to become a national and potentially international problem. This is the complicated story of how hippos have become one of the world's most unlikely and most dangerous invasive species. I'm going to pass you back to my past self to share an account of my journey, my truth, my lived experience, all in the pursuit of science. But before I do, here's a quote from Ridley Scott's Alien. "You still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? The perfect organism. Its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility." So, off to Colombia. Hi everybody, I am here in Hacienda Nápoles, the ranch formerly owned by the now deceased Pablo Escobar. It's situated around 150 kilometers east of Medellin and 250 kilometers northwest of Colombia's capital, Bogotá. The vast estate covers an area of 20 square kilometers. Escobar was, at one time, one of the richest men in the world. He appeared on the Forbes rich list for 7 consecutive years, from 1987 to 1993, with an estimated net worth of $20 billion. He made his fortune, of course, from selling Tamagotchis online, but he also had a side hustle. Yeah, he was a girl boss like that. He had a near monopoly on the US cocaine market, and was shipping the country hundreds of tons per year. He was reportedly expensing $2,500 on rubber bands each month to keep all his cash together. For reference, that amount of money would buy you at least 3 Tamagotchis. The drug lord has left a complicated legacy in Colombia. Although he was responsible for the deaths of thousands, pulled communities apart, had politicians assassinated, and was considered to be one of the world's most dangerous and powerful men, he was and is seen by many as a Robin Hood type figure. He built hospitals, entire villages, employed countless people, and his funeral was attended by thousands. When Escobar was shot and killed by the police in 1993, the estate was taken over by the state. Since then, the ranch, Hacienda Nápoles, has undergone a miraculous transformation. Today, it's a publicly accessible theme park, museum, zoo, and water park, all for the cost of 99,000 Colombian pesos, roughly $25 US, which is pittance really, when you think of all the historical learning, unforgettable wildlife encounters, and water-based thrills you'll cram into one day. I promise this isn't an advert. This place is a bold and hopeful reclamation of a troubled history, a portion of land once home to a man who was responsible for so much destruction, and responsible for decades of social and political unrest, is now a place where people can have positive experiences, which supports the local economy, and which allows people to learn about the area's past. I'm currently looking up at a replica of a Piper PA-18 Super Club airplane, mounted on an archway. Legend has it that this is the plane in which Escobar made his first cocaine run to the US. The plane and the arch were originally situated at the park's entrance, placed there by Escobar decades ago, but has since been moved here to the middle of the park. You might be wondering why I'm at the middle of a popular tourist destination, but there's not another human soul to be heard. Well, you see, I came here yesterday and slept in a bin last night so that I could get up at the crack of dawn before gates open to beat the crowds. It's like a ghost town here. Many of the park's original features remain standing, including a range of monumental life-size dinosaur replicas. Like these two here. What are they up to? It's a Triceratops and a T-Rex having oral sex. Oh, no, they're not. That was the angle. The Triceratops is goring the T-Rex with one of its horns. Goodness, that first guess was way out. What else is around here? Back when the ranch was under Escobar's rule, the place contained a Spanish colonial house, a brothel, a gas station, an entire airfield, and, even back then as now, a zoo. Whereas the dinosaur statues were a gift for Escobar's son, the zoo was intended for his beloved daughter. He imported 4 hippos to Colombia, 1 male and 3 females. They were added to his collection to be plonked into a lovely pond alongside elephants, kangaroos, ostriches, rhinos, giraffes, although I don't think they were housed in the pond. When his rule as kingpin came to an end in 1993, most of the zoo's residents were successfully transported from Hacienda Nápoles to other zoos. The hippos, on the other hand, those hungry hippos. Have you ever tried to remove a hippo from a pond? Well, I have, for personal reasons. And I'll tell you, it's a job that's not even worth attempting. That also seemed to be the attitude of the National Drug Enforcement Agency, who were left with the cleanup of Hacienda Nápoles, including the hippos. And BTW, the collective noun for hippos, is a bloat. The government placed the bloat of hippos in the custody of a local environmental authority, who themselves said, "Elephant and rhino capture and transportation? Yes, please, but I draw the line at hippos." I mean, my goodness. Imagine being the kind of animal that makes ferrying elephants and rhinos around sound like taking a geriatric rabbit and a one-legged cat on a gentle walk through the park. The point here being, the hippos were deemed too expensive and troublesome to relocate, so nobody did anything about them. The authorities imagined that they would stay there and eventually die out. As a result, the hippos enjoyed their newly vacated home. They relaxed, unattended, in the many ponds and lakes of the hacienda. And here is a good time to mention a few important things. First, hippos reach reproductive maturity at 5 years old, and they can live for 50 years. Second, in Colombia, there are no natural predators of hippos, and there's no dry season to keep hippo numbers in check. Third and finally, something the authorities forgot to take into account is that Hacienda Nápoles is right next to the Magdalena River, Colombia's largest river, superb hippo habitat which stretches across the country. Perhaps you can see where this is going. I'm just approaching one of the park's features which I was hoping I'd run into. Another giant sculpture. I'm now staring up at a bright pink, 20-foot tall, googly-eyed beauty, Vanessa the Pink Hippo. Rightfully wearing a crown, this queen is the park's mascot, and she is an effigy of a real hippo living here at the park. An effigy. Can hippos have effigies? Well, anyway, let's go find the real Vanessa. I understand that the real Vanessa is also pink, which I believe is the result of the fact that she's descended from a base population of just 4 hippos. But no judgment here. Some of my best friends are inbred. In fact, sometimes, when I'm wiping the dribble from my second mouth, which is found between the webbing of my left foot, I wonder if I too am inbred. I'll state the obvious too, I suppose, which is that Vanessa the Pink Hippo is a much more child-friendly and marketable name than Vanessa the Inbred Hippo. I'd like to express something now, which I extend to you, the listener, from the bottom of my withered heart, and that is, I have become truly obsessed with the fact that this hippo's name is Vanessa. I can't stop thinking about her. Vanessa is the first thing I think of when I wake up in my dog bed, and she's the last thing I think about when I pass out at night in my garden. I don't spare a thought for how I'm able to make my way from my garden inside to my dog bed whilst I'm sleeping. Not because it's not an intriguing and concerning mystery, but because, as I say, I spend every moment thinking about Vanessa. There is no room for other thoughts. I have something else to say. There is a whole Wikipedia page for individual hippos, but where is Vanessa? She doesn't make an appearance on this measly, unjustified list. Justice for Vanessa, I say. Here are some of the hippos who do have a coveted spot on Wikipedia's list of individual hippos. Let's kick off strong with Mu Deng. A resident of a Thai zoo, she gained viral fame at just 2 months old, back in 2024. It just goes to show that anyone can achieve fame on the internet and get their name on Wikipedia by crawling around on all fours without their clothes on. But that's just the world we live in. Mu Deng is a pygmy hippo, rather unlike Vanessa, who is just your standard hippo-type hippo and separated by millions of years of evolution and a difference of about 1,500 kilos. Another hippo on the list is Huberta, the South African hippo. Initially known as Hubert, her sex was discovered after her death. She departed from her waterhole in Zululand and over 3 years gained national fame as she trekked 1,660 kilometres to the Eastern Cape. She was immortalised in the children's book Hubert the Travelling Hippopotamus, illustrated by Jane Carlson and written by Edmund Lindop. Oh, and here's a lovely one. Owen the hippo is on the list because of his striking friendship with Mzee, an Aldabra giant tortoise. When Owen was a juvenile, he was separated from his bloat. It was Boxing Day 2004. The deadly tsunami reached Kenya, causing Owen and his family to be washed out to sea. He was found alone, stranded on a reef, and rescued, taken to the Horler Park Rescue Centre, where he was introduced to Mzee, a 100-year-old tortoise. The pair formed an unlikely friendship. I'll say, fair play, Owen, you've earned your place on this list. But I guess the curators of Wikipedia don't share the same obsession with Vanessa that I do. Now, where is that girl? I'm in the wildlife portion of the theme park, so she shouldn't be too far away. And I think I can hear the sound of a hippo. I hear she even responds to her own name. Vanessa? Vanessa? Girly Pop, where are you? Oh look, I found her enclosure. Vanessa the Pink Hippo. She's got a sign and everything. Hi, Vanessa.
Hey, girl.
Vanessa, you speak English?
No, girl. You're just fucking crazy.
Okay. Love that for me, Vanessa. Do you want to join me on my tour?
Okay, girl, let me get my purse. Wait, I'm pretty sure it's in this bit of dirt. Wait.
It's okay, there's no rush.
Okay, wait. Okay, I found it. Great. Where are we gonna go?
Well, I was planning on just walking around the park and talking until the other visitors start to arrive. It won't be too long until the park is flooded with tourists. I was hoping to travel down the Magdalena River to the furthest point hippos are reported to have reached, but it's 400 kilometres away, and I don't have a boat.
You wanna sit?
Do I want to sit?
Yeah, on my back. You wanna sit?
Are you offering me a ride?
Yeah, you should totally sit. We'll go right up the Magdalena River or whatever.
Well, Vanessa, that's very kind of you, and it's an offer I can't refuse. I think I saw a gentle slope down to the river back there. Perhaps that's where we can make our entrance. Oh look, the crowds are starting to appear. Perfect timing. Hey, there's a juice bar. I'll continue now to explain the history of the so-called cocaine hippos, if you don't mind.
Wait, 1 second. I'm gonna get a juice. Here, hold my purse real quick. Hi, English? Hey, yeah, I want a juice. Thank you so much.
But Vanessa, I thought you said you couldn't actually talk.
It's like I said, you're fucking crazy.
Ah yes, I forgot about that part. Apart from you, Vanessa the Talking Hippo, is the content of this episode scientifically accurate?
Yeah, vigorously checked and everything. Period.
Finished? Was it good?
So freaking yummy. Excuse me.
Well, good. I'm glad you've got a juice in. We have a long journey ahead. We have to go all the way to Magange in the north. Ah, now. I think this should be our entry point to the Magdalena River. After you.
Well, yeah.
Wow, like a natural. Okay, I'm afraid I won't be as ladylike as you, Vanessa. Are you ready for me?
Yeah, come set.
You're very comfortable. Off we go. Ah, it's so peaceful here. Now, do you mind if I continue with my monologue about the cocaine hippos?
Yeah, I don't really care.
Fantastic. The name cocaine hippos seems first to have been applied to the invasive Colombian hippos by National Geographic in a 2012 documentary. Over the decades following their release, they have gained notoriety as their population has grown at an estimated rate of between 7 and 14.5% per year. The number of feral hippos living in Colombia is now in the hundreds, with current projections based on their birth and death rates indicating that by 2050 there will be thousands of hippos living free in the Magdalena River basin. And the more hippos there are, the greater the challenge of removing them. To quote a 2023 article by Amanda Subaluski et al., that's Latin for "and friends," delaying management actions for a single decade will increase minimum costs by a factor of 2.5, and some methods may become infeasible. Indeed, the paper points out that even if effective management starts now, there may still be hippos in the landscape for 100 years. David Echeverry, of the Colombian Ministry of Environment, has described the situation as an invasion of hippos. Now, this is a problem. This is a big problem. This is a big, huge problem which needs to be solved. Hello? Hello? We have a hippo problem, everybody.
Yes, there's a problem.
Hang on a minute. Do we have a problem? I feel like I keep saying we have a problem, but what is the problem? Why not just let them chill here? You could argue that the feral hippo situation in Colombia is not a problem. You could also argue that Katy Perry has made a successful comeback. While neither of these things are true, I acknowledge that the hippo problem might deserve a bit more of an explanation. So, why is it such a total ecological disaster to have these animals living as invasive species in South America? Well, a few reasons. An iconic African megaherbivore, the hippo is not native to the Magdalena River. In its native home, hippos are subject to natural population control. They may experience predation, when they are calves at least, from lions, spotted hyenas, and Nile crocodiles, very rarely having to worry about predators as adults. But the other thing hippos have to contend with throughout most of their natural range is the dry season, the cracking of the riverbed, the baking heat of the savannah, the withering of their food, and with it all the looming threat of starvation under scorching heat. But Colombia has no dry season. It has a tropical environment which maintains a stable year-round temperature. David Echeverry describes the environment as hippo heaven. Hippos come onto land at night to feed, and the lands around the Magdalena River are rich, fertile rainforests burgeoning with vegetation. The river itself is also a thick, juicy vein flowing across the country, which provides an easy route to new habitat. And hippos are able to travel huge distances to find new homes. Interestingly, hippos are not actually very good swimmers. They avoid deep water. In fact, they simply sink to the riverbed and bounce along the bottom. Wait, Vanessa, if hippos can't swim, how are you swimming?
You're yelling.
No, I'm just wondering.
You're mad at me.
No, not at all. I'm very happy that you're swimming. We're making great time. I'll not ask any further questions.
Okay, great. I love that.
The environment here allows for the unchecked growth of the hippo population. The appearance of such a large, hungry, territorial animal has a profound influence not just on the native wildlife, but on the landscape itself. Hippos poo in the ponds they live in, and when there's too much poo in a pond, this leads to an abundance of nutrients, beyond a healthy amount, which causes algal blooms. The decay of algae starves the water of oxygen, causes the death of pond plants, and the loss of aquatic vegetation goes on to have ripple effects, the collapse of fish populations to name but one. With their great size and power, hippos are also able to redefine the layout of the environment by connecting bodies of water as they bulldoze through the landscape. So, if one pond becomes toxic, then this could become a problem for neighbouring ponds as they become interconnected. And because of their bulk, they also degrade dry land when they emerge to feed at night. Their massive weight causes soil to become compressed underfoot, making it more difficult for seeds to take root, leading to a loss of vegetation, a process known as desertification. I always thought that desertification was the process of adding sweet items to savoury food. like putting pineapple on a pizza, but it turns out the term for that is ruining a nice meal. Wow. Sorry, controversial. Vanessa, what do you think about pineapple on pizza?
I live.
I thought you might. Although Vanessa is obviously a very friendly hippo, they are, as a species, not particularly fond of sharing the environment with the native wildlife. This can present particular challenges for animals like manatees, the native large mammal swimming up and down these waterways. And there's another large mammal living in this part of the world. How do interactions between hippos and humans go down? Oh, hippos and humans. Two species who are both very calm and reasonable, who live in harmony together, who love nothing more than sharing space and resources, and avoiding conflict at all costs. Well, perhaps that's not an honest reflection. Let's consider the antics of hippos in Africa. Although they're herbivorous, it's no secret that hippos are prone to drama. They live cheek by jowl with Nile crocodiles in their native African home. I'm not sure crocodiles have cheeks or jowls, but you get the idea. And when they're not splashing around with crocs, they're feeding at night on land alongside prides of lions. Lions who, come the dry season, will try to eat anything. So hippos have evolved to be slightly psychotic, and they also have the weaponry to back it up. The hippopotamus has the largest teeth of any land animal. The largest canine tooth ever recorded in a hippo was 122 centimetres long. What the hell? That's the size of a child. But it's still shorter than a Japanese giant salamander. And hippos can open their jaws to nearly 180 degrees. Not only a useful tool against potential predators, these vicious jaws also serve to defend territory. A single bull will inhabit a pond full of all of his girls. His girls. He might let juvenile males remain in the pond as long as they show him due deference, but the territorial male will violently defend his girlies from any male who tries to challenge him. In these fights, bulls use their incisors to block each other's attacks, and their large canines as offensive weapons. And let it be declared that hippos are nearly all muscle. There has been a figure flying around on social media recently that hippos have a body fat percentage of 5%. Now, from what I gather, that figure seems to be viral trash. Totally fictionalized. Some whippersnapper on TikTok gave it a nice round number because it rolls off the tongue. It's easy to make up numbers. I could do it now. For example, Sleventty Croyne and Wilf Wansitz. But despite this fictionalized 5% value, it is certainly true that hippos are just very, very muscular. It's why they sink in the water, and it's why they look so fat.
You think I look fat?
What? Oh, no, Vanessa.
You're gonna make me take Ozempic.
Oh, Vanessa, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. There's really no need for you to take Ozempic.
Can hippos even have Ozempic? Is it safe for hippos to even have Ozempic?
You know what, Vanessa? It doesn't matter because you don't need it. I'm sorry I said anything. You're beautiful.
You really think that?
Yes, you're very pretty. You have nice teeth. Are they tusks?
You really think I'm pretty?
Certainly.
Okay, love that.
Anyway, all this talk of hippo musculature, weaponry, and attitude is to say the hippo is a very aggressive creature, and this aggression isn't just reserved for rival males or hungry lions. It's dished out willy-nilly to anyone who so much as looks at a hippo the wrong way. In Africa, around 500 people are killed each year by hippos. They attack and can easily capsize boats, causing multiple deaths by drowning, if not by directly goring or biting people clean in half. A 2020 study by Mustafa Hadara, published in the American Association for the Surgery of Trauma's Open Access Journal, found that hippopotamus attacks have a fatality rate of 86.7%, compared to fatality rates of 75% and 32.5% in lion and leopard attacks respectively. Fortunately, nobody in Colombia has yet been killed by a feral hippo, but it seems to be a matter of time before that inevitable outcome. Though non-fatal, there have been attacks on people. In May of 2020, a hippo seriously injured a farmer. These interactions aren't positive for hippos either, and in December 2022, a man was injured after colliding into a hippo with his motorbike. In April 2023, a hippo was struck by a vehicle and died. In the years following the death of Escobar, hippo encounters have slowly been on the rise. The fear was that, Increasing interactions between hippos and local farmers and fishermen would lead to attacks and deaths. So, in 2009, authorities decided to take action. The military were deployed to target and remove one rowdy hippo who had become particularly aggressive. The military handled the situation in the best possible way by posing with the dead hippo, who was named Pepe, for photographs. Oh, I'm sorry, that came out wrong. The military absolutely balls the situation by turning the killing of Pepe into a photo shoot, which garnered international outrage. These were the early days of Twitter, and the photos of Pepe's body were not well received by the online community. Also, don't name the hippo if you don't want to ignite global outcry. More on the international response later, but it's important to emphasise that this kind of negative reaction wasn't just coming from abroad. Within Colombia, many people pitied Pepe and resented the government's actions. A federal judge made it illegal to hunt hippos in Colombia following what had happened to Pepe. In a 2023 article in the journal Biosemiotics, Sergio Rodriguez Gomez and Germán Jiménez draw an interesting comparison between the picture of soldiers posing in front of Pepe the hippo and the now famous photo of police posing with Escobar's dead body, saying the photo of Pepe elicited collective memories and produced a public opinion backlash. As we've discussed, Escobar's legacy in Colombia is complicated, and there is a living memory of him which saw him in the eyes of some as a good force. As a result of this backlash, the authorities ceased any further plans to kill the feral hippos. Colombia is currently in the process of building a reputation as an eco-tourism destination, and the planned cull jeopardised this image. What has followed on from the termination of this plan has been a decade and a half of not much action. In the meantime, the hippo population has only continued to grow, and with it, the threats facing the environment here along the Magdalena River. It's worth pointing out that what's at stake here isn't some measly old ecosystem you could find anywhere on Earth in any scraggy corner of the planet. Colombia is one of the world's megadiverse countries. This is a list of 17 countries which hold extreme biodiversity. Have a little think now about what the other 16 countries are, because I'll go over the whole list now. I wrote it down and put it in my pocket. Okay? Ready? Ready, Vanessa?
Yes, I'm so freaking ready right now.
Here we go then. A horse dressed as a dog dressed as a goat, a horse dressed as a dog dressed as a... Oh wait, this is the wrong list. Wrong pocket. Lucky dog, that bought you a few extra seconds thinking time. Okay, here we are. The 17 countries in alphabetical order. Australia, Brazil, China, Colombia,
Yes.
Democratic Republic of the Congo, Ecuador, India, Indonesia, Madagascar, Malaysia, Mexico, Papua New Guinea, Peru, Philippines, South Africa, United States, Venezuela. And that's 17. Did you get any of them, Vanessa?
Yeah, I got all of them.
Wow, good going. About 10% of the world's species live here in Colombia, and the country ranks highest in bird diversity, with nearly 2,000 species. So, this part of the world is unique and precious. This perhaps places the stakes slightly higher than they otherwise would be, and it means that a shock to the ecosystem, like the arrival of a highly territorial, landscape-defining megaherbivore, could be detrimental if allowed to continue. The IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, has weighed in to declare the situation as critical, and implored Colombia's Environment Ministry to use population control as a means to stop the problem from worsening. One of the reasons a solution to the hippo problem has been so hard to find is because different groups of people are all approaching the situation from completely different angles. I'll refer back to the same article by Gomez and Jimenez, which reflects on the different attitudes people have towards the hippos and the different approaches people have to conserving the environment, all of which are influenced by varying visions of nature, ways of understanding what the natural world is, how humans relate to it and are a part of it, and how we should protect it. The article comments on another study from 2019 by Morales and his band of merry scientists, which demonstrated that people feel more empathy and compassion for species they're more closely genetically related to. We tend to think we can better understand these creatures and how they experience the world, and that influences how we manage them. It's something that will negatively affect the conservation success of something like a Japanese giant salamander, as we discussed in last week's episode, because giant amphibians are rather hard to relate to. But this phenomenon is a significant complicating factor when it comes to the feral hippos. They are a highly charismatic animal, and despite their tendency towards aggression, people often project anthropogenic qualities onto them. And here in Colombia, where the hippos are relatively new, people haven't necessarily got long-established histories with, and a healthy fear of, these animals. People see them eating plant matter, and they see their cute ears and noses poking out of the water, and they might not believe that such animals are worth being afraid of. They might not yet have reason to be alarmed by the increasingly common appearances of hippos walking through local fishing villages. Hey look, Vanessa, some wild-living hippos. Want to say hello?
Ew, gross.
Fair enough. It's also worth pointing out here that these iconic African beasts have initiated the growth of hippo-based tourism. People travel to this part of the world on wildlife holidays, specifically now to see the hippos. There's no doubt that with all its biodiversity, there's far more than just hippos that are worth visiting in Colombia, but the tourist industry which has developed around them is testament to their star power. Vanessa, you've got real star power.
Period.
The article by Gomez and Jimenez separates the attitudes towards hippos into 3 generalized groups. The conflict between these groups, as I've mentioned, has stunted the formation of a plan. Firstly, we have the animalistas, who have animal rights activism at their core. Once a dispersed group of fewer people advocating on behalf of non-human animals, this group has in recent decades grown and become more organised. They have shifted their advocacy towards judicial lobbying, with the intention of implementing new laws and rulings. Protecting the feral hippo population has become one of the group's endeavours in Colombia, and they argue that, rather than lethal population control, measures such as sterilisation should be used. The second view we have to consider is the narco-cultural vision. This is relevant to you, Vanessa. Since the death of Pablo Escobar in the 90s, Colombia has become internationally exoticized for its troubled history with the drug trade. Certain remnants of this past feed into things like tourism, and what falls between a shameful acknowledgement and a reclamation of this history. The hippos are a part of this. They're contained within the lasting legacy of Escobar. Vanessa the Pink Hippo is, after all, the mascot of his former estate. In fact, the title and storyline of this episode of the Nature Disturbed podcast feeds into the narco-cultural vision. I've presented the ecological challenge in the form of hippos as an invasive species within the context of their unlikely arrival into Colombia and their ties to Escobar. I do believe that their arrival and dispersal are key parts of understanding the problem, but there's no doubt that Cocaine Hippos is a title with a ring to it, which I used in part because I hoped it would draw people's attention. The third vision on nature we have to consider is the conservacionista, underpinned by the scientific establishment. At their core, they believe in using the state's resources with pragmatism, with the intention of protecting biodiversity, as opposed to the lives of individual animals. The hippos, as an invasive species, pose a great threat to Colombian wildlife, and their population needs to be contained. This group emphasises the difficulty with sterilising hippos in the field. Now, I'm not sure when the last time you tried to sterilise a hippo was, but I did it this morning.
Wait, what?
I'm just kidding, Vanessa.
Oh, you crazy.
But it does present some unique challenges from what I can gather. You can go and remove the testicles, but unlike cats and dogs, hippo testicles are stored internally and are therefore very difficult to remove. Hippos are like humans in that they have internal testicles. Right? That's normal, right, guys? An alternative to sterilisation is relocation, to zoos for instance. This is also a very tough job. As part of this method, you'd want to tranquilise the hippo, but hippo skin is very thick and it's difficult to penetrate with the dart despite the size of the target. If you are successful in tranquilising the hippo, then you're faced with the fact that, when alarmed or threatened, hippos will head to water. So, then they're at risk of drowning, because it takes more than 5 minutes, the total length of time a hippo can hold its breath for, to remove an unconscious 3-ton animal from the bottom of a lake. These methods of population management are some of the things conservacionistas push back on. You can see how this group might come into conflict with the animalistas, the animal rights activists. And indeed, an analysis of X, formerly known as Twitter, interactions has shown that these two groups do indeed hate each other. The animalistas frame the conservacionistas as ruthless murderers, while the conservacionistas frame the animalistas as unintelligent, referring to them as mascotistas, which translates as petists. The division between these two groups seems to be further amplified by the media, which all too often not only fails to find any kind of unity between the two groups, but also misreports on the other to make the conflict grow. Here's one such example. In 2021, it was widely reported that hippos had been declared as people in a US court. Not only was this said to be establishing a dangerous new legal precedent, but it was also supposedly preventing the Colombian government from being able to take action against the expanding hippo population. Tree-hugging Westerners were overstepping, passing laws about other countries, and making things worse for the people of Colombia. I'll emphasize now that, although I do my very best, I'm not a lawyer. However, from what I've found, it does seem that the ruling had a very specific context, and it did not have the far-reaching ramifications which were being reported on the internet. To be honest, this rumour wasn't just peddled by conspiracy theorists who hate it whenever anyone tries to do anything in defence of vulnerable groups like animals. The flame itself was kindled by the Animal Legal Defence Fund. Here's what I've gathered, in layman's terms. It seems that, rather than being universally declared as people, the specific group of feral hippos living in Colombia were granted interested person status in an Ohio court. This was so that 2 American witnesses, who are experts in non-lethal sterilization methods in hippos, could be called forward and allowed to take testimony for a case which was pending in Colombia. In Colombia, hippos can be legally represented by an unofficial agent. The ruling in Ohio only serves to allow hippos to get discovery in the US for cases they bring in Colombia. They aren't legal persons under US law. This is what happened, I think. If you're a lawyer and you're listening, please get in touch to let me know what you make of all this. But as far as I can tell, it's a bit of a boring, technical piece of nothing, really. Not a law which opens the floodgates for people to start being sued by non-human animals. Despite how it was reported on, the outcome of the case does seem to have gone on to have affected the eventual population management plan, which we'll be coming on to any moment now. Vanessa, I've been speaking about this without checking in. You, out of the two of us, have the most skin in this game. What do you think? Would you like to share your truth, your journey, your lived experience?
I think it's really serious issues. And maybe, guess what? And guess what sells? And maybe, first and foremost, it's the serious issues.
Thank you for sharing that, Vanessa. So, now what? How could there possibly be a solution with all these conflicts of interest? Well, in 2023, a plan was announced. In that year, the Colombian Minister of Environment and Sustainable Development, Susana Muhammad, announced the Hippo Management and Control Plan.
We're not going to repeat history. We have an obligation to ensure that when Colombia delivers these hippopotamuses, those who receive them are legal and have the conditions to guarantee their lives, and that they will not cause an environmental problem in another country.
Warned Muhammad. According to her plan, each year, 1 boy and 1 girl from each of the 12 districts will be selected and forced to compete in a televised battle to the death until just 1 victor remains. This battle will be known henceforth as the Hunger Games. Oh, sorry, I seem to have slipped into a lucid dream and started babbling about the wrong thing. According to her plan, a total of 85 hippos will be relocated to countries which have expressed an interest. 60 to India, 15 to the Philippines, and 10 to Mexico. Oh, you go Mexico. And none for Gretchen Wiener. Along with this initial translocation, the government will perform 40 surgical sterilizations in the first year, and a further 40 sterilizations annually. The plan will cost hundreds of millions of dollars, but the hope is that it will protect the humans and other species living in this beautiful country. So, there we have it. It's yet to be seen how successfully the plan is being implemented and what the results are. We haven't got much news in yet.
Okay, we're here.
We're in Magange.
Yeah, we're in Magongwe.
Right, well, that was extraordinarily fast, Vanessa. I'm so impressed.
Thanks, it's not a big deal, it's whatever.
Nearly 400 kilometres away from Ground Zero, Hacienda Nápoles, is the furthest point from the hippo introduction site at which they've been anecdotally reported. And here, I suppose, our journey ends, and we part ways, Vanessa. If you go any further, it'll be the furthest a hippo's ever gone down the Magdalena River. You'll be breaking ground, or water, venturing to lakes and rivers untold, making a name for yourself among hippos as a great explorer. So, what do you want to do?
I want to get another juice. I'm gonna go back.
I understand, Vanessa. Thanks for the ride. I'm going to allow myself to be washed out to sea and hope the current takes me from the Gulf of Mexico back to Melbourne.
You do you, girl. Okay, bye.
Hi, I'm back in my kitchen sink. I didn't want to say this in front of Vanessa because I thought it might make her uncomfortable, but hippos do this thing called muck spreading. When they poo on land, they flick their tail back and forward, and it causes the poo to be flung in all directions, covering the floor. It's not a well understood behaviour, but there you go. It takes all sorts, I suppose. I have a friend who likes to dress up like a pig and crawl around in dirt, but I don't judge him for that. Okay, I'll admit, that person's me, but I don't judge myself. Thank you, me, for taking the reins on today's episode. And thank you to my girl, Vanessa the Pink Hippo. It can't be that hard to get a hippo's name onto Wikipedia. Maybe I'll make doing that a priority. What do you think about the response from the Colombian government and the international community to the invasive hippos, listener? What vision of nature do you hold? Oh, and before I forget, if you'd like to see the companion artwork to today's episode, you can find it at Nature Disturbed on Instagram. Kisses! I'll round out my thanks with a thank you to Damon McMillan for the music, and a hearty heartfelt thanks to you, the listener, for listening. I'll end now with a poem. This one's entitled 4 Little Hippos. Four little hippos on their way to South America. Their names unknown, we'll call them Casey, Becky, Jack, and Erica. Taken out of Africa, the place in which they ought to be residing, they're a gift for Pablo Escobar's young daughter. New additions to her private zoo, her own menagerie. As for males, there was but one, and as for females, there were 3. Now, one of each is all it takes for them to start to mate. So before long, the blow to 4 had quickly turned to 8. And the 8 little hippos living beneath Escobar's thumb at Hacienda Nápoles quickly would become 16. And so they were in 1993, when Pablo's reign came to an end. And how clear it would be. A photograph for all to see. No surer has a thing been. The police now standing, smiling wide, by the body of a kingpin. 16 hippopotamuses sitting in a pond, removing them an option of which authorities weren't fond, nor an idea to which hippos are likely to respond. And there the hippos sat and wondered what lies out beyond. Well, lacking supervision, from the pond they did abscond. So there they were, all living free, no longer in a zoo. And under these conditions they became 32. The humid weather, the lack of lions, the undeniable lush life, the Magdalena River making it now viable to push strife, out of mind and out of thought, from shore to tranquil shore. It was untouched hippo paradise, and so they grew to 64. 64 hippos spreading out, one great pink family tree. But with the death of Pepe, they're back down to 63. Another photo with a corpse stops culling in its tracks, and after that, an increase in the number of attacks. Attacks on farmers and fishermen, no sign of settling down, and hippos struck by vehicles as they stroll unwittingly through town. Fazed not at all by fences or bricks, they just kept spreading, so 2026, there are 200 hippos living feral, placing all native wildlife in peril. Based on recent scientific projections, if they keep moving in all directions, there's nowhere in Colombia where they won't have blundered, and soon the hippos will reach 800. 800 hippos have now gotten very far, stretching out from Medellin all the way to Bogotá, stealing jobs, chasing off residents, establishing rule via new legal precedents. Where once was vibrant rainforest, there's naught but dry cracked land. Where ought to be green now's just baking dirt and piles of sand. A deranged and starving hippo is gnawing at a bone. This great mascot of Africa, so very far from home. And not too far into the future, if a future there will be, the number of hippos will be 2,423,000,000. Hippos all the way from Argentina to Alaska. Hippos even in the Polish city of Rudaslaska. Hippos piling up, and before very soon, mounds of hippos will be making it all the way to the moon. A planet of just hippos. No, a whole universe. Heaven knows of their limits if they continue to disperse. I, for one, say bring it on. Enough of life as we know it. The end's in sight. Hippos will rule, and nothing now can slow it.